The Hutterites are a communal group. They live the what Mormons would call the United Order, very similar to the United Order. I've spent collectively, not at one time, but collectively over 500 nights with Hutterite families. My initial intent was just to find out more about Hutterites, especially comparing the Mormon United Order that we had in the 1870s in a few communities in our church, and then the earlier United Order that they had in Kirtland, and see the parallels and the differences between the United Order and the Hutterite way of life.
Now, one thing that is of interest, like you mentioned, the Hutterite colonies are very closed, and you just can't go up and knock on the door and say, I'm your local anthropologist, let me talk to you. It's very difficult to get into a colony and make friends with them, especially 25, 30 years ago. You just didn't do that. But being an anthropologist, you have to be very clever on how you make your entrance.
The Hutterites speak a dialect, but their church services are in High German. And the problem is that they've been in North America for, even then, over 100 years. And you start perpetuating your own mistakes. And so a lot of ministers like to speak to outsiders to make sure that they're not getting lazy or off the track in their German. They rarely have a chance to speak High German to a person other than another Hutterite. And they just didn't want to keep perpetuating the same mistakes. And so I knocked on the door. Reverend Waldner came to the door and asked me what I wanted. And I told him in High German. I said, I was told by a man named John Gross that there's a man named Joel Waldner here that likes to speak German. I was saying this in German. He said, well, why would you want to speak to Joel Waldner? I said, well, I enjoy speaking German myself. He said, well, come on in. And we spent the next 5 hours talking, and we became close and best friends since then.
One advantage of this is Joel Waldner's group is, of the three groups, the most conservative and the most difficult to make contact with. And because of that, Max is basically the only researcher that's been able to ever get into the most conservative of the three groups. And in fact, for the first several years, the conservative group was the only one you've had any contact with. And now he's familiar with the other groups as well. But none of the other researchers, sociologists or anthropologists or historians, have much insight into this most conservative group. So that was just a fluke that happened that gave him a real advantage.
And so the experience is just doing the research. I've been to colonies in the Dakotas, in Manitoba, in Montana, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Washington. And every house we go to, the best of the best. We know that somebody had to give up that bedroom for the night, and they always say, oh, no big problem, they're over visiting so-and-so, and they just got, you're not in anybody's way. I've spent 25 years visiting Hutterites, have had all my journals, my books, my belongings completely open. Not once have I suspected anybody, even the kids, going through and bothering it and so forth. Total, complete trust. I think that the capstone of my experience is just to say, hey, Hutterites are good people and they're good neighbors, and I wish I knew more about that. I just want to really thank BYU Hawaii for all the support they've given us. There's no possible way we could have done the research with the Hutterites, or in Fiji, or Easter Island, or other places, without the generous, constant, ongoing support from BYU Hawaii. I feel very fortunate that we've had for 35 years, virtually unquestioning, total supportive responses from my leaders in the administration and this research. If I were to say what was my single most important experience here, it was the wonderful students that I worked with, and to see them develop, to see them go on to bigger and better things. And I think about my students every day.